Yeah. Well, this is a good point, and I'm gonna tell you this coming from a numbers-oriented person. I was looking for a fryer, not air fryer, but deep fat fryer, and
Mhm.
for me, so I bought one. I bought one on Amazon, and I returned it. The reason why I returned it was because it really made the place smell so bad.
Hmm.
So then I go searching for odorless fryer. And guess what? There was one listing. It talked all about how this is odorless. And then it showed. And that, you know what I was looking for? I was looking for a specific width because there was so much space on my counter, and I didn't want this fryer to take up too much space. So I was looking for a specific width, didn't have to be longer than this. And and you're right, I had to dig real deep to find where that was. And
Mhm.
in fact, I may be wrong, but I'm remembering something like it wasn't on the Amazon page, but I actually had to go to the brand's website and then looked up. So you're right about people who are interested in those specifics. They will go to any length to figure out what they need,
Yes,
right? But for
that
me,
is
what was
true.
important was the need that I had, and that need was I didn't want too much smell.
Mhm. Totally, totally. So it's kind of funny how, even with what we're talking about today, we're talking about listing optimization, but really the psychographics and the demographics are what I think about first before I even go and write anything. So just so everybody's clear, I'm going to define those terms real quick. So
Yeah.
demographics is who the customer is, their age, marital status, what state they live in. The psychographics is why they buy. And so that's the real money maker. That's the real like CIA secrets. You know what I mean? You want to be like a cop and really know people and their psyche to figure out what they want. And that's where the psychological, the neurological programming comes in when you're writing your NLP type copy, right? So it's for that example that you just gave, it's kind of funny, like, even you yourself, you had a creative, you wanted to start frying things, you wanted to be creative in the kitchen, have something that would, well, we could take it deep. Maybe you wanted to cook something so that, your wife could see that you can actually cook. You know what I mean? You wanted to help around the house. Maybe you just were tired of eating a peanut butter and jelly sandwich every day and you wanted something that tasted good, or maybe you're like, hey, I'm older now, I have more free time. Now is the time to do this and spend money on the right type of fryer. And so I'm going to invest in one that I think will be good. And then you made the more emotional decision only to go back and find out that it was missing a feature, which was the odorless. So you can even see how this plays out. So I got another really good example for you. Back when I was working at Canopy Management with Brian Burton, Brian Johnson, there was one client that we had that was selling SD cards for cameras, like DSLRs and stuff. And theirs was a premium product. Like SD cards, you can get them for like, I mean, they're so cheap now. You can get them for like 20, 30 bucks, sometimes some of them even less. These guys were selling ones that were like 80, 100, 250 bucks. So it's like, how could they possibly compete in a market, especially with major brands like Samsung, right? And so what I did was I completely, at the beginning of the list, and the listing is the exact same 4 years later, and they already have Amazon's Choice badge, over 3,000 reviews. You know what I mean? So the proof is in the pudding. Instead of targeting the features of that SD card, they did have proprietary technology that was better, but instead, all I did was really focus on who were the people that were buying, because no one else was doing that. The major brands on Amazon, they don't really take time to care about their listing. They just throw it up because, they have major accounts and millions of products. And, so it's not that hard. People just buy it because they know the brand. So for that SD card, instead of writing about the proprietary technology first, I said, hey, this is a product for YouTubers, content creators, people that are freelancers, entrepreneurs, people that are shooting for weddings, right? And this might be like your business, your livelihood. And I would write things like on the listing, why would you spend thousands of dollars on a camera only to have an SD card that corrupts the camera and breaks it? So might as well invest in a higher quality SD card now, since you already invested in the proper camera equipment earlier. So instead of going after the details up front, I did talk about it later, but up front, immediately I captured that market. That's like, hey, this guy gets me. This is for my business. This is for my small business. This is for me as an entrepreneur. This is me as an influencer, right? Everybody wants to be an influencer. That's why we're on the podcast. We want to be influencers, right? Right? We want to be influencers in the industry. And so this product, I was catering it to that person's real desire, which was to create good content and make themselves look good and therefore create a business that was sustainable. And then at the very end, I was like, oh yeah, and by the way, this is better than any other SD card, and here's why. And I used images to capture that. We used the EBC to capture it. And of course, the title and bullet points. And that product took off. It even got, back when Amazon was doing the articles written for top keywords, it even got that within like the first 3 months. So it was powerful. And I think that just goes to show when you have somebody that really knows how to pull out what people can't even fully express themselves, that's what makes people want to buy from you, because they're like, how does this guy know exactly what my heart really wants, what I'm really after when I buy this? So you kind of go from the deepest point, and then you go to the more general surface level, shallow things, which is benefits and features. That's like the easiest part, if that makes sense.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, what you just mentioned is something that that appeals to me the most in terms of establishing that connection, is putting your audience right there up front. And that the best place to do that is the first bullet, where you are simply listing, if you are a YouTuber and into taking pictures or whatever, like for example, I use a GoPro, and GoPro has an SD card. So if you say, oh, you're using GoPro or GoPro Fanatics or whatever, those are the things that will connect you with the people, because they're going to say, oh, they understand my need, so this is for me. So that's why that's the easiest way.